Hi there and welcome to this video. I'm a life coach and I help people build healthy relationship with themselves. So today I'm going to talk about something that happens when you do not have a healthy relationship with yourself, and I'm going to talk about something that will help you understand yourself better, which will eventually kickstart your journey towards building a healthy relationship with your own self. So yes, I talk about building a healthy relationship with your own self, and if you're watching me on YouTube and you want to be in my free community, you can join the community. I will put the link in the description, and if you want to have a clarity call with me, I do offer a free 60-minute clarity call at present. To avail that, you can just DM me coaching on WhatsApp. So yes, let's talk about what I'm going to talk about today. So, today I'm going to help you understand your unhealthy self-esteem, or call it what I used to call, what I call as unhealthy relationship with your own self. So I'm going to help you understand it in depth. First is, why does one have an unhealthy relationship with themselves? Like, what happens? Why does one end up having an unhealthy self-esteem? And if I have to if I just have to explain what is an unhealthy self-esteem, so it's basically how you, when the way you think and feel about yourself is distorted. So when you have a lot of negative ideas about your own self, so when the way you see yourself is not exactly empowered, or empowering or positive, rather it's limiting or negative, which actually ends up making you feel small and inferior in your own self. That is what is called as having an unhealthy self-esteem. And when you have an unhealthy self-esteem, the kind of relationship that you have with your own self is unhealthy one. And it is important because when you have an unhealthy self-esteem, you are going to have confidence problem, you are going to have a very critical inner self. The foundation of self that you will have, it will be not positive, it will be not of love or understanding, but rather it would have a judgment for your own self, fear of judgment. You'll also have fear of judgment. So the self faith or self belief, which is actually very much necessary for you to lead a life which is meaningful, wherein you can take a stand for your own self, wherein you can choose for your own self. For you to do all of these things, your self belief is a must, but which actually is absent when you have an unhealthy relationship with your own self. So that is why it's important that you have a healthy relationship with your own self. So let's dive into the topic that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to help you understand unhealthy self-esteem in depth, so that you understand yourself better. And understanding yourself is better, because it helps you accept yourself fully. Okay. So see, when I talk that, okay, how does one end up having an unhealthy relationship with your own self, or why do you develop, or why do you have an unhealthy self-esteem? It all starts in the childhood. So see, as children, when we are born, we have some needs that needs to be fulfilled, right? We come with some needs like, I need to be loved, need to be up need to be need to be validated, need or to be appreciated, or made to feel like you're loved, you are wanted, you're desirable. So a child comes into this world with all of these needs. So these needs are supposed to be fulfilled by their primary caregivers, that is, in most of the cases, it is their parents. But in the case of unhealthy self-esteem, what would happen is, a child is exposed to such an environment. So one ends up growing in such an environment wherein they do not feel loved or desirable or accepted or validated. So this need of theirs, it remains unfulfilled. So it's like, and for a child, love is something that they need for survival. So it's one of the very, I think it's the most important need for a child, more than more than any other thing. Love is what they need for survival. So in the case of an unhealthy self-esteem, therefore, when you have an unhealthy self-esteem, the wound that it leaves you with, the scar that it leaves you with, is so much, it's so much painful, or so much deep, because it's one of the most important need that needs to be fulfilled as a child. So now, for a person who has an unhealthy self-esteem, they grow up with that unfulfilled need. So it's like growing up with a void. So and why it is important to feel loved, or to feel accepted as a child? Because when we are children, we are just forming our identity. So it's like our concept of self-worth is developing back then. So we are learning from our environment that, okay, how valuable am I? Tell me, how worth am I? What is my worth? Do I amount to anything? Am I desirable? Will I be listened? Am I loved? Do I deserve this? Am I worthy of being here? So we are just forming our concept of self-worth and our identity and everything. So we are learning about our own self. That is how we are going to be with ourselves. That is how I'm going to learn about my own self, or how I'm going to learn that, okay, how am I supposed to treat myself? How should I talk to myself? What am I worthy of? I'm going to learn all of this with respect to my caregiver, with respect to my primary caregiver, right? Because as children, our world is very limited. It's like our house and then our school, just two things, and even in that, our caregivers hold the most power. Most of the power. We only look up to them. We learn from them. So the kind of relationship that I'm going to learn, that okay, how am I supposed to be with myself? How is my self talk supposed to look like? I'm going to pick all of these from how what I'm observing happening to me is happening to me, or how I am feeling growing up. So yes, so for a person who has an unhealthy self-esteem, they grow up around such an environment where they end up feeling that I'm not desirable, I'm not loved. Now, when all of these things are happening with this child will have an inherent belief, or this child will grow up with a feeling that I'm not perfect. They will grow up with a feeling that I'm not enough. Whatever I am, the way that I am, it is not enough. There's something that I need to be, or there's something that I needed to be for me to be accepted, for me to be loved. So as a child, you will never be able to blame, or you will never be able to think or rationalize that, okay, if I'm not being loved here, if I'm not being appreciated here or made to feel validated, maybe the problem or maybe the issue is in the other person. Maybe this person is just not capable of appreciating other people, or they do not have enough love in themselves to love somebody else or love their own child. So we do not have this much capacity to think and rationalize as a child. So what we end up doing is we end up making it about our own selves. We end up taking it personally, that if I'm not being loved, if I'm not being validated, if I feel unaccepted, it means that I lack something. I am the problem. I am not enough. Hence, as a child, this is where the foundation of unhealthy self-esteem is set up. This belief, this small feeling that we start to feel that I lack something, that I'm not enough. I should have been this, only then I would have been loved or accepted. So we end up finding the problem in ourselves. So now, when this child, now suppose, now let's see how does this child grow up to be. So what kind of an adult would this child grow up to be? So this child, who was exposed to such an environment, who actually has already set up that, who already has that, who has the foundation of an unhealthy self-esteem set up in themselves, this person will grow up with that void, which basically is that unfulfilled needs of theirs, right? So they will grow up with a void. And what is that void about? It is about, they have grown up into an adult, but internally, deep within, they still crave, or they are still seeking that validation and love and acceptance from others, because that need has not been fulfilled, and it is one of the core needs of everyone, that they need to be loved and accepted. But because this need of this child was not fulfilled in their childhood, they grow up into an adult with the same void, with that unfulfilled need of that, okay, accept me, love me, make me feel that I'm desirable enough, or I'm worthy enough of being here. So now what will happen? This child would grow up into an adult who will not have a very firm sense of self. So they will grow up with a disconnection with their own self. So they will not be able to feel a connection with their own selves, which basically means that they will not have a very in-depth understanding of themselves, which also means that zero self-awareness. They will lack that connection with their own selves. They will not feel their inner world, or they will not feel comfortable or peaceful in who they are. So they will not have a very firm sense of who they are, sense of self, and they grow up with a void, which actually makes them subconsciously seek validation and acceptance from other people, which also leads one to have people pleasing tendency as an adult, or fear of judgment also. Because what is fear of judgment? When we have fear of judgment, basically we are trying to create an image of our own selves in front of other people, so that they think of us in a good way, so that they approve of us. And why so? Because somewhere we want to be accepted, we want to be appreciated, we want other people to like us, to love us. So this void that is unfulfilled, it is a major reason. I need you to keep this, in mind, that this is one of the major thing that has led us to have an unhealthy self-esteem or unhealthy relationship with our own selves. And along with this, something else that happens is that we end up forming or developing a critical foundation of self. So we all have, a foundation of self, or how we look at ourselves, the identity, the self-image that we have. So now in this case, what will happen when we have this void, when we grow up with this, unfulfilled need, we will have a very critical foundation of self, wherein it will be strong wherein instead of self-love, we will have self-criticism, right? Or judgment for the self. We will have strong dislike or disapproval for the self. So the thing is that you are not liking who you are. So it's not about other people. It's like you have said no to your own self. So there's this strong sense of dislike and disapproval for your own self. The way you think of yourself, the way you see yourself, you do not like it. And that is happening because you have a distorted identity, you have a distorted self-image. The way you see yourself is distorted because back then, long ago, you have formed beliefs like, I am not good enough, there's some problem in me. But I want you to know that all of those beliefs are very much distorted. Because you made those beliefs when you did not have the thinking brain, when you could not rationalize. So you made all of those beliefs from an emotional space. All right. So this is so when you grow up into an adult with that void, with your unfulfilled need of being accepted, of being loved, you seek validation. You subconsciously seek other people's validation, which also leads you to have fears like fear of judgment, people pleasing tendency. Second, you end up having a very critical foundation of self, wherein that you end up developing a very critical self-talk, or you just feel, or you just have a very strong dislike against your own self. And as an adult, you start to believe in perfection. You start to believe that there's something called as perfection, and I need to be there. That becomes your goal. You start to think that there's something as perfect who I need to be. Only then I will be accepted and loved, and hence you start to chase that perfection in whatever you're doing. When in reality, that is not the truth. And we are going to talk about certain points which are going to help you understand it better, which are going to help you let go of the current beliefs that you're having. Beliefs like there's something as perfect only if I looked better, only if I lose my weight to this much, or only if my body starts to look this way, or if I start earning money this much, everything will get better. I will start to feel good in my own self. We set up such conditions, when in reality what needs to happen is unconditional self-acceptance, unconditional self-love, which is hard at present because we don't know how to do it, because we have never experienced such unconditional self-acceptance. So it's about, we don't know how to accept ourselves unconditionally. We are just living on the beliefs. We are just repeating what we have known. All right. So let's move to the next part, which are some takeaways that I want you to have. Basically, some kinds of insights that I want to share with you, which will actually help you. So first is, I want you to get this in your mind, that the concept of perfection is flawed. When we have an unhealthy self-esteem, this is one of the things that happen, it's like a constant thing that happens. In our mind, we create an ideal self which is no less than perfect. So we start to believe in the concept of perfection, that there's something like perfection exists, and I need to be there. So our daily, everything that we do, we are striving for perfection. But in reality, what happens, because there is nothing as perfection, we are never going to feel satisfied with our performance or with our own selves. As a result of which, we again get back to, we feel disappointed with our own selves, and then we start to criticize our own self. So it's like a loop, which again, when we criticize ourselves, what is criticizing ourselves here? It's again me, telling myself that, see, I'm not good enough. I cannot do this thing also. So incapable, so unlovable, which again makes me feel that shame. It reinforces that feeling of shame within me. And the more I feel shame, the more unhealthy my relationship with my own self would get, because I would start to feel that I don't deserve things. So I'm not going to treat myself in a good way, in a healthy manner. So first thing I want you to know, I want you to like feed into your system is that there's nothing as perfection. I want you to break your concept of perfectionism that exists. There's nothing as perfection. Even though you have an urge, and I know it will not change everything with just this information, but sit with this thing that there's nothing as perfection, even though we feel like that. And the idea or what you see as perfection, it is not perfect. Maybe you look at others and feel that they are perfect, but go and ask them, do they feel that they are perfect? There is nothing as perfection. Or what seemed perfect to you, it has taken years of being imperfect, years of practice. So to be skilled at anything, to do something in a very good way, in a skilled manner, you need to practice. And for you to be able to practice, to be able to do something, even while being imperfect or even after failing at it, you need to have that much of self belief and self faith in your own self to keep going on, to not get disappointed in yourself so soon. So take this with you, that there's nothing as perfect. So let go of this concept that there's something as perfect, or there's this ideal self that I need to be to feel good in myself. Okay. And solution is not to become perfect. Oftentimes when we have an unhealthy self-esteem, we start to think that solution is that only if I make all this much of money, only if I start to look this beautiful, my problems will be solved. That is not true. The only solution, even if even if you reach that stage where you feel that if I make this much of money, or if I have certain kind of body, it will not feel enough. You will again create another perfection destination for you, that next is this bar, I need to reach here to feel good enough in my own self. So what will actually make you feel good enough in your own self is working on your own self, working on your self-esteem, and ultimately it is self-acceptance, which means that you do not need to change a thing about your own self. You do not need to become anybody. It's about accepting yourself with all flaws, strengths, everything, weaknesses, insecurities, everything. Because right now what is happening, when we have an unhealthy self-esteem, we all that we can see is our insecurities and flaws and weaknesses, and we want to run away from it. So there is no acceptance. We have such flawed idea of our own self that we can't see even one good thing about our own self. So the base, like at the core, what is happening when we have an unhealthy self-esteem is that we have a flawed self-image. So what is flawed is the self-image that you have, the identity that you have, not you. Alright. And when I say self-image or identity, it is nothing but self-beliefs. And beliefs can always be changed. You can always work upon it and change. So yeah, coming to the next point. Second thing that we need is, when you have an unhealthy self-esteem, is we need connection. We need to connect with ourselves and others. Because I want you to see that what started this foundation, or what set up this foundation of unhealthy relationship or unhealthy self-esteem with your own self. It was the lack of connection that you felt with your primary caregivers, right? Or with one of the primary caregivers, when you felt a lack of connection. And what do I mean when I say lack of connection? When you did not feel seen, when you did not feel understood, when you did not feel being loved or accepted. So it was a lack of connection that started this unhealthy self-esteem. So for you to actually be able to rise above unhealthy self-esteem, for you to actually feel love for your own self, what needs to happen is you need to connect with yourself and with others. But here's the interesting part. For you to be able to connect with anybody else, you need to connect with yourself first. Why? Because if you do not connect with your own self, you will not consider yourself worthy enough to be seen or to be accepted by other people. So you will fail to connect with anybody else, because you will not be ready to put up your authentic self with anybody else. So first is, we need to connect with our own self. So we need to form that connection, which is the start of forming a healthy relationship with your own self. So you need to form a connection with your own self. And when I say connection, what do I mean? It basically means that instead of just believing in my instead of just buying into that negative or limiting self-image that I have till now, that I've been believing into till now, which actually makes me run away from my own self, which actually makes me get out of my own body. So I'm not willing to look at my own self. I'm not willing to interact with my honest or true feelings and thoughts that I have. So connecting with your own self means willing to confront your thoughts and feelings, willing to look within your own self. Okay, what is inside my body, inside my mind? What do I feel about my own self constantly, on a constant basis? Willing to go within your own self. Second, developing self awareness, right? Connecting with your own self, learning more about your own self, understanding yourself, acknowledging your story, acknowledging your past, not denying it, not blaming your own self, not questioning your own self, getting rid of the grudges that you hold against your own self. Oftentimes what happens is that we have so much anger and resentment against our own self. So it's about letting it all go. And that and all of this happens as a part of connecting with your own self. So it's like a process. When I say that you need to form a connection with your own self, it basically means that it basically means that getting to know yourself so well, developing such an understanding with your own self that you are able to trust yourself, from where self belief will start to form. All right. And the last point is building a firm foundation of yourself. That is because right now abhi tak kya hai ki we do not have a firm sense of self, of who am I, or have bhi to it is very distorted. It's not something that is helping me, because the identity that I have till now, it is making me not even look at me. It is making me just wanting to avoid who I am, wanting to avoid confronting my own feelings and thoughts. So now what needs to happen is I need to build a firm foundation of my own self. That is, I need to look into my current identity and self-image that I have, and I need to work on it. I need to meet my own self, confront my honest feelings and thoughts that I have. And all of this is nothing but working on your self-esteem. This is what I mean when I say that build a healthy relationship with your own self, or work on your self-esteem. Because self-esteem is what you think and feel about your own self. So when it is about working on your self-esteem, I'm talking about working on your self-image, on your identity, on your self-beliefs that you carry. So what needs to happen is that we need to build a firm foundation of who I am. I need to see myself from my own eyes. I need to let go of all the negative ideas that I have about my own self right now, so that I give myself a chance to explore who am I in real. Because abhi tak I've been believing into the beliefs that I formed as a child from an emotional space, when I could not think, when I could not rationalize. So I made everything against my own self. But now I need to give myself a chance to see who am I in reality, to offer myself a chance to explore myself, to form a new self-image or identity for my own self, one that helps me, wherein the self-beliefs that I have, it's empowering. It makes me believe in myself more. So yes, and this is exactly what is working on your self-esteem means, right? What working on your self-esteem means. And both of these things, working on your self-esteem and working to build a healthy relationship with your own self, both of these things go hand in hand. So yes, this was it for today, and I hope you understand that if you have an unhealthy self-esteem, you understand yourself or what's within you in a better way. And understanding yourself is important because it helps you stop blaming yourself or questioning yourself. Because oftentimes what happens is we end up questioning ourselves, that why am I this way, I'm not liking it. We end up criticizing ourselves or self-pitying, which is not very empowering because it leaves you with no option. But we need to be at a stage, at a point where we have the choice. And honestly, now you are an adult and you have the choice. You have the choice to understand yourself. You have the choice and the ability and the capacity to connect with your own self, to build a healthy relationship with your own self, to fill that void. Oh, yes, I missed this thing. So the void that I was talking about, the void that actually set up the foundation for unhealthy self-esteem, you need to fill that void. Because right now we believe that we have this urge that this void needs to be filled by other people. But that is never going to happen. Even if 10 people come and they tell you that, and they make you feel accepted and loved, yeah, it will do to some extent. It will make you feel good to some extent. But because you do not believe into it, but because you haven't offered, or you do not consider yourself worthy of love and appreciation and acceptance from deep within, it's going to be very much volatile. As long as those people are going to, make you feel loved and accepted, you're going to feel good about your own self. But the moment something happens and they leave, or maybe their relationship with your own self, their relationship with you gets broken, you're going to you're going to come back to the same point where you're not liking anything about your own self. Hence, you can't depend upon other people to fill that void for you. You need to fill that void for you. And now, as an adult, you can very much fill that void for you, because now you have this cognitive brain. You have the ability to think. You have the ability to choose for your own self. So now you are powerful. It's about, are you willing to reclaim your power? Are you willing to build a foundation of self, wherein the foundation is of self-love, wherein there's understanding for your own self, there's forgiveness, there's understanding, there's compassion. Are you choosing this way? So it is a choice, and now you get to make the choice, right? You're no more a victim. You're not at a place where nobody can help you. So even though we feel that I need somebody else to make me feel good, trust me, you have the power. And the acceptance that will come from you, and the acceptance that you will have from other people, it will be incomparable. Like, nothing can compare to the acceptance that nothing can compare to the acceptance that will come from you for your own self. So even when we talk about working on self-esteem, and we have certain steps like, connecting with your own self-awareness, at the end of the day, something that can never be neglected is self-acceptance. So yeah, I will make a video. I've actually made several videos on self-acceptance, because it is so much powerful, and it is very much powerful when it comes to doing this self-esteem work, or rising above your unhealthy self-esteem. So yes, I will keep today's video till here, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you in any way. So yeah, if you want to have a clarity call with me, you can DM me coaching on WhatsApp, and I will meet you tomorrow with another topic. All right, bye bye.